After all this time, now you come to visit me, brother. Why? To mock?
I need your help. But I wish I could trust you.
If you did, you'd be the fool I always took you for.
Well, a common saying is that lightning never strikes in the same place twice, but Marvel seem to have pretty much managed it with Thor: The Dark World. Wouldn't you agree, Simon?
The God of Thunder has returned in style.
Yeah.
And by returned, he came back for like 5 minutes, and then we went to his house this time.
Yeah, a lot of it takes place off Earth, which I'm kind of happy about that, because what's the point of having somebody like Thor if you're just going to make what could have been a Captain America movie on Earth? Yeah. This is Thor: The Dark World, the follow-up to, well, the original Thor, but more of a follow-up to the Avengers.
Yeah, well, it just carries the characters over from Thor. The storyline really plays into what's happened in the Avengers last, because it's the same series. You can't look at this as Thor 2. This is the follow-up to, well,
Thor issue 2, essentially, rather than a separate thing. But I mean, this really follows on directly from the Avengers, with Thor returning to Asgard with a captured Loki, who is then committed to the Asgardian dungeons by word of Odin.
Which look really nice.
They look cushy. They look like almost like a 5-star hotel, but you're imprisoned in them. So yeah, followed on straight on from the Avengers, and linking in back with the original Thor, the storyline is that Thor hasn't really been on Earth much since the Avengers, because the 9 realms that Asgard protects have been in chaos, because there's a lot of kind of more evil forces kind of starting to cause shit across the universe, because Asgard was kind of cut off after the Bifrost was killed.
Yeah, that's probably what it was, yeah.
After the Rainbow Road was destroyed in the first film, they've seen this as a chance to kind of start stirring trouble without Asgard coming down on them. So Thor's been going around with his, was it the Warriors 3 and Lady Sif?
Yes.
His little gang.
And like a big contingent of normal Asgard soldiers as well.
God, yeah.
Which Thor sends in first. And then he sends in his friends, and then he rocks up if it's going bad, which seems to... I think they say it though, don't they?
They do make the fun out of it. But yeah, it's him leading kind of armies of Asgard, peacekeeping across the universe, and that's where things open. There's a little prologue as well that sets up the kind of villain and the overall story of this, where it tells a kind of story of an ancient war between Asgard and the Dark Elves, who were born out of the darkness that existed before the universe. Mm-hmm. And they had this big super weapon called the Ether, which they were going to use to return the universe back to the darkness, so they could kind of thrive once more. And who knew Odin had a father? I thought Odin just was...
The Old Father, yeah, that's his name.
The guy, I thought he'd been around forever, but yeah, it's Odin's father.
They do establish sort of the lifespan of the gods, and it's just like they do have super strength, and they're super, well, whatever, and they live for about 5,000 years each, so they are mortal to an extent.
Yes, they live and die,
yeah.
But yeah, I always thought Odin was just the guy.
So he had a dad, and I'm guessing Odin's dad had a dad.
Well, you would have thought so, maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe not, because he fought the Dark Elves, and apparently they were there at the start.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe he was the first. Yeah. He looked fairly old.
Yeah.
So maybe that was...
He looked like a badass.
He did, yeah. It wouldn't seem to... Is that what he's called? Bor?
I think so.
So yeah, basically the Dark Elves were vanquished, and they pretty much all died except their leader,
Malekith.
Malekith, that's right, played by Christopher Eccleston.
Yes.
And it's kind of him and his elite guard are the only ones who survive. He actually crashes the entire Dark Elf fleet into their own planet to kind of, as a last fuck you to Asgardians who were on it. But he escapes and kind of goes into slumber while he tries to track down the Ether, which is kind of...
It's going to suck the light out of the world.
Yeah, which is...
And he likes being in the dark. And I never got... Like, does he just like being in the dark, or do his people only live in the dark, or...?
I don't know, maybe... I get the impression that they kind of rule when it was all dark.
Yeah.
And then when, like him and, like, the likes of the Asgardians turned up and, kind of pushed them
party.
back. Yeah, basically. One thing I actually liked about Malekith is that as much as he was this kind of glowering evil bastard, and there wasn't a lot of depth to him,
no.
I could kind of see his point.
No, yeah.
He was just trying to revert things to how they were before all this shit happened. He was trying to, as far as he was concerned, he was trying to revert this kind of cataclysm that had ruined his world.
Well, yeah, it's like, if the sun like went supernova one day on us, and we were like, oh, well, this isn't very good, and then some people who enjoyed living in such conditions rocked up, I'm sure we would want to reverse it.
Yeah.
I got what he was doing. It's the first time I think I've done that with a Marvel villain so far.
Yeah, I liked him. If there's one thing I've got to say is they got Christopher Eccleston in, who's a he's a good actor, but he didn't get a huge amount to do.
No,
he
not at all.
literally stomped around going, "I'm evil."
He was very. I didn't even think he was that menacing until like the very last bit.
Yeah, he was okay.
They didn't cement the sort of like Loki all the way through Avengers. He's just fucking shit up.
Yeah,
And by the end, you're really happy when he's well thought Hulk smashing him into the floor. But this one, it's just like he'll turn up, he'll have a conversation with someone, and then his fleet will do something, and it's...
Yeah, if there's one thing I think that was good that they got someone like Christopher Eccleston is that he carries a lot of weight when he talks, and when he's talking to the likes of Anthony Hopkins and like all the Asgardians who are very big and Shakespearean, I think he carries his weight and he's very good in that regards. But I get the impression that there was a lot more to him, and it's ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, there probably was, because there was just nothing. Everything that he was doing was sort of plot related.
Yeah. Completely.
He was just there to push along the sort of antagonist's storyline, but there was no character development at all.
Not a huge.
You didn't explore anything about him.
Yeah, he was just a bad guy.
Or maybe all of his stuff that they cut out was him saying that he just wanted things to go back to how they were, and it made him. Maybe people got we side with him anyway.
I've heard, or I've been talking to some people who suggested that maybe there was a lot of scenes between him and his kind of lieutenant, the other Dark Elf.
Yeah.
Kind of got cut, and it maybe explains the motivations a bit more. I don't know if that's true, but I kind of got a sense that maybe there was something that was cut. Somebody else who's in this film was in the original, but not a lot. In this a little bit more, but again had a lot cut apparently, was Rena Russo as Frigga.
Well, she had an expanded role in this anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I thought she was great.
I like Rena Russo, and she has a really badass fight scene.
She does.
And I didn't expect that at all.
I loved her. It's just a shame, isn't it?
Just a little bit. I did. I really liked that. I thought she was good, but again, I think she had more to do. They just cut it because this is not a terribly long film, but it's long enough. And I think maybe it filmed more. I mean, the guy who's directing this is it Alan Taylor?
He's a Game of Thrones director, isn't he?
He's a kind of HBO regular. And this almost felt kind of like maybe,
it did feel like a Game of Thrones episode at times.
It did, yeah. It really did. And it felt kind of maybe like it was TV, maybe they'd shot too much. And then realised, oh shit, this is a comic book movie, and we need to trim it down and have more blasting and shooting.
Definitely compared to the first, though, but I think compared to a lot of the Marvel films so far, this had the highest proportion of action to sort of discourse, I would think.
Yeah, it's pretty non-stop, really. It's pretty good. There's a little bit in Asgard that slows things down, but it quickly picks things back up. Out of all the kind of individual movies, I thought this was probably the grandest in scale of all the heroes. It was pretty good. I mean, it almost
spans like it's a hardcore sci-fi film at times.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, it expands the kind of wider universe of Marvel a lot, way more than anything we've seen so far. I mean, the Avengers teased that it's inviting aliens onto Earth, but this pretty much goes to where aliens live.
Yeah,
and maybe that's an attempt to bridge to Guardians of the Galaxy next year.
Yeah, probably.
But I really liked it. It felt like a sci-fi film. I mean, these elves was flying around in spaceships, and it was something like out of Star Wars for a lot.
Well, when the Dark Elves attack Asgard, it's like a really sort of pretty good like fight scene almost, where they're attacking the city, and there's like guns, like anti-aircraft guns going up, and they use podcast sound effects by the sounds of things for the Asgard's ships.
They were like
little gondolas with wings on, but like they fly around like spaceships. I love the design of the Dark Elf spaceships. They're like a knife, and they can just like if they crash into something, they just cut through it rather than that was
pretty good. I did like the Dark Elf designs. I thought the way the Dark Elves looked was pretty cool.
I think they looked scarier than they were because again they didn't have much to do.
Yeah, they had this weird thing where they were obviously elves and quite like serene, but they were twisted almost and really dark and just weird, like the black eyes and the really white skin. And
were all of the troops, were they wearing like helmets, or did they all just look generic?
I thought they were wearing masks, but I would presume so, because the ones who aren't wearing any kind of face gear look just like humanish. But all the ones who were like the foot soldiers had like weird eyes. I presume they were just masks, but I don't know. Why would they be any different?
I don't know.
Maybe we were thinking it. But yeah, I mean, coming back to the cast, Chris Hemsworth. I think he's pretty much got Thor down now.
Yeah, he's perfect.
He's really good. He does the humour well. He's big and he's strong, and
The only thing in this is like he didn't have to do the arrogant Thor, which was quite fun in the
I
first
fucking
one.
love the arrogant Thor.
He's class.
Yeah, that's one thing.
He's now just humble all the time.
Yeah, he's
and
very
it's-
good at two shoes and very much I'm a protector.
Yeah.
Whereas I loved arrogant Thor. He was just this kind of drunken
Yeah.
lad who used to go
He's
around and
class.
start in fights. But yeah, Chris Hemsworth's really good in the part. I think he's pretty much nails it. Tom Hiddleston returns as Loki.
Loki, this is probably my favourite Loki
Really?
performance, because he actually uses his power of like manipulation in this to, well, every time he's on screen, really.
Yeah, he's really down and out, and it's him trying to wheedle. It's him trying to use his kind of strengths, I suppose, to get back into some kind of footing where he can then do something again. But I did like him. I like the relationship between him and Thor.
Yeah, I thought it was
because
really interesting.
While they do hate each other at this point, they're still brothers, and they still kind of also like each other.
They are
love each
working
other.
for each other, like, for most of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, Loki, you don't know if he's doing it to get ahead or if he's... But I'd like to think that deep down he's got some sort of honour towards Thor and no one else at this... Well, he was
Yeah.
upset
Yeah.
at times.
Yeah,
but-
there's other things that happen that do kind of force them back together. But I did like that bit where he comes back into it in a big way. But Tom Hiddleston's great as Loki. I think he's nailed. I think out of the kind of younger central cast, he's probably the best actor here.
Yeah.
And he's really good as Loki. But at the same time, I hope they give Loki a bit of a rest.
Yeah, I was. We said that when we came out because they're setting him up to be a villain again.
Yeah,
Really.
I just hope they just skip him out the next. I don't want him to be in the next Avengers, which I doubt he will be because Ultron's pretty much been confirmed to be a villain. And I don't even want him necessarily in the next Thor movie. I think they can expand and do something else. Let's get Beta Ray Bill in.
Who's he?
Beta Ray Bill. I don't know a huge amount about him, but he's basically this. I don't know if he's a robot or an alien, but he's like a golden horse human who is a great warrior, and he basically, I think when he first comes into it, he fights Thor to a standstill. So Odin, but it's for like some misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So Odin gifts him with like a Mjolnir clone, and he becomes basically like another Thor.
Oh.
And he goes back and saves his homeworld or something, and he becomes like an ally of Thor.
Yeah, sounds cool.
But
I like when Marvel go a bit weird. Like
I love the weird shit. That's why I'm looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's going to be great. But yeah, get Beta Ray Bill in. Why not? Natalie Portman back in this as Jane Foster.
She was good. I liked her.
Really?
Yeah.
I think she's okay.
The only bit I'm not sure if I don't think it was her. I think it was the writing.
Yeah.
She seemed.
She's a damsel in distress.
If it was me, I would feel. Well, she was, but then she came around in the end, and I mean, through amazing writing, managed to save the day with her science. There was no need for that to happen. She, when they're stuck in that cave, and she's just like, "How are we going to get back to Earth and save the world?" And she's like, "Well, if we just walk over here, that'll do it." And then we're back in my apartment. Oh, great!
Coincidence.
But
she's okay.
The bit in the middle where stuff happens and it's her fault, essentially.
Yeah.
It's not really her fault, but I thought she should feel a lot more responsible than she let on.
She don't give a shit.
No. And a lot of shit happens. Like, Asgard is destroyed.
It's pretty fucked over. Considering it's like the seat of the gods. The seat of this kind of intergalactic police force.
Yeah. And while they're trying to sort it out, she just falls asleep for a while, and then she wakes up and like, "Oh, where are we? Not sorry," or anything.
Yeah.
She doesn't even try and comfort Thor.
Not really. Not really. I'm not.
Maybe it's because I thought she looked really pretty in this.
She always looks pretty though. It's Natalie Portman.
This was like, I don't know, this was another level for her. When she was in Asgard, and I don't know if it was like the
Nordic
ether.
robes.
She looked a bit golden. She had the ether flowing through her veins. She looked hot.
Natalie Portman's always nice though. She's always pretty. It annoys me though because Natalie Portman's great when she's great, but
she was much better in Thor 1.
Yeah, she was a lot funnier. And
Yeah.
there was a lot more of a cute relationship between them. This was a lot more serious. I think this film took itself a lot more serious on the whole. Though don't get me wrong, there was kind of some funny bits in it.
The last sort of third of the film, the climax is all action and all humour, really.
Yeah, it goes back in a full Avengers mode.
Yeah.
But the kind of early drama bits do take themselves quite seriously. It does try to establish like the wider universe as this serious. It's like the gods are serious people, and the shit they deal with is serious on a galactic scale.
But I feel then if a lot of the stuff with Christopher Eccleston ended up on the cutting room floor, I think a lot of her stuff did because there seems to be a lot of her relationship with Sif seems to be teased at times, and then it never seems to go anywhere.
Yeah, well, I'm sure in an early trailer there was a bit where her and Thor are talking, and she's like, "Well, we're from different worlds. How is this ever going to work out?" And that wasn't in the film.
No.
So I get seriously, I get the impression that some of this was cut. I'm not saying it's necessarily damaged the film, but
No, it's
it'd
a
be
great
interesting
film.
to see.
Yeah, I'd like to see an extended cut of this, because a lot of what I liked about Thor was not necessarily the fish out of water stuff from the first one, which was fun, but definitely the differences between Thor and Jane.
Yeah, some of the best bits for him, like when he first gets there and he goes into the pet shop and he's
Yeah.
like, "I need a horse," which we're missing. But I mean, talking about Sif, Jamie Alexander's back as Sif. I really liked her in this.
I
Like,
loved
she
her.
wasn't in the first one a whole lot, but she seems so much more of a badass in this
Yeah,
film.
she should have been in this more. Like, I'd have loved to have. Like, why weren't they in the final fight as well? Couldn't they have just gone up to? I'd have liked to have seen them break out of prison again, walk up to what's his name, Heimdall? Yeah,
Yeah,
get him to send them to Earth, and then when things just look hopeless, and Jane thinks the world's going to win, then Sif turns up, and there's just that spike of jealousy as well as Jamie Alexander being back in.
I don't know if this is going to be a major spoiler. It's certainly not a spoiler for the film, but in the comics, Thor and Sif are to end up together one way or another.
Yeah.
And it does start to build on that.
Yeah,
I
it
think
does.
That
I thought it was going to do that a lot more in this, is what I was just pointing to.
I honestly, going in, I thought things were going to go very, very different on that side of things. But they are starting to sow the seeds of Sif being in it more. And
I hope that means that they've got a long plan then.
Yeah.
If they're going to tease it as little as they did here.
I think in the next film we'll see a lot more. Maybe if there's going to be a Thor 3, I don't know.
But I love Jamie Alexander, and do you know what? I'm so sorry that I wasted Hottie of the Month.
Oh shit! Yeah, Jesus! Oh man!
We'll give it to her next month, because the film will still be out in November.
That's what we're fudging. Well, technically, it's November now when we're recording.
Oh, that's fine.
So that's the excuse I use. But
she's so hot.
She's gorgeous. It's ridiculous. She's in an episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Is she?
But she's like young as hell in it. She plays like a high schooler who she's like the popular girl, and she's ex-girlfriend of the popular guy, and the two of them try to date some of the main characters to make each other jealous, and they end up trying to go to the prom and stuff, and it's just grim. But God, I was like sitting watching it because I knew who she was, but I was sitting watching this going, she looks very familiar. Watching Always Sunny, and she's I like Jamie Alexander. I thought she was really good in the part as well. She was expanded. And then we're talking about the kind of her and Thor's relationship. Like, Odin pretty much comes out and says to Thor, "Look, why the fuck you bothering with a human? She's in front of you, go with her."
She's hotter, she's Asgardian. She's not going to require you to save her life every 8 minutes.
She kicks ass. So I think the seeds have been sown there.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see more.
I would watch her. Well, we were saying it before this started, and during it, some of the early bits seemed like a Game of Thrones episode. Like when they're fighting, it looked a little more low budget. And I don't know if it was the shooting style he was used to filming Blackwater, or just that sort of style of like mass medieval action. But I would watch a weekly Sif TV show if they were to do one in the style of Xena.
You could have fucking his warrior mates going up on adventures.
I think that would be great.
He's got fucking Ray Stevenson. I love Ray Stevenson.
He's amazing.
Volstagg. I like Ray Stevenson a lot. I still want him to play Victorian in Game of Thrones. I think he would be
needs
mint.
to. I didn't like in this the new replacement for
Fandral.
What's his name? Fandral the Dashing, I think, is actually his full name.
Is it Fandral? No, yeah, I don't know, but
I loved him in the first one. He was like a sort of suave fencer, but in this one, he looked like a guy impersonating Fandral.
Yeah, well, the guy's was Zachary Levi, who is Chuck on the TV series, who co-starred alongside Yvonne Strahovski. Yeah, he's not in it enough to get worked up about it, but I think I did like the other guy better.
Yeah. I just like you in the first one, when the other guy's like counting off all the stuff that Volstagg's eaten.
Yeah.
I just thought that the new guy couldn't pull that off to such a... His voice was perfect.
Yeah,
in this one, it sounded like he was putting on a voice. He had a wig on, and
he did have a fucking wig on. And if he didn't, Jesus.
Yeah.
He really did look like it. But
I liked how they all helped out though. When there's a prison break scene, it's like each of the Warriors 3 had their own stage of the operation to pull off. It was sad they weren't going along for the ride, but then you wouldn't get the Thor Loki stuff happening.
That's what I do like. I do like the fact that they are kind of. They're not just Thor's mates, they are like legitimate, probably like military officers in Asgard. I do like that.
I did know when Ray Stevenson was like getting piled on by Asgardians, and he's just like, I
do like. I love Ray Stevenson, man. He's always good value. But Fucking Hogan. Oh god, he's like the
He's from planet Asia.
yeah, he's from the Asian realm. He's kind of like a Mongolian hunter.
Yeah.
I don't even want to pronounce this guy's name. I'm terrible at the best of times.
Tadanobu Asano.
Yeah, he gets the short end of the stick in this.
He's said bye to within the first scene.
It's
And then it was just like in Return of the Jedi when they look up and the Death Star's been destroyed. He just looks up at the sky and goes,
like, oh,
"You did it."
Yeah, he got the short end of the stick because I liked him in the first
Yeah.
film. I thought he was one of the cooler ones. And then of course you've got Idris Elba, who's always badass
Yeah.
as Hemidal.
I didn't get his final sort of sacrifice in the escape plan. Not really.
Well, he didn't. He distracted Odin.
Yeah, but he just distracted him. Like, and then he was like, "Whose treason are you here to report?" He's like, "Mine." He's like, "But I haven't done anything."
Well, he distracted him to let the
He
others...
should have. I think it would be much better if he said, "Oh, I'm alerting you to the fact that at this exact moment, Thor's breaking people out of prison." I thought that would have been a lot funnier because then Odin would have just been, "Oh," and run away again. Because Odin was a bit like he.
Right, Anthony Hopkins was fucking awesome in
Yeah.
the first film, and I'm not saying...
You know when he rocks up on his horse in Jotunheim?
Yeah, he's
He
like a
kicks
horse.
everyone's ass.
Yeah, and he just had this great gravitas. And the scene in the first film where he's exiling Thor,
Yeah.
apparently it took them a while to get
But you're
that.
not
Yeah,
king.
and... God, I was transported there. Yeah, I thought that was fucking great, but here... He comes across a little bored. He's like, yes, Asgard, shit's happening
Yeah.
again.
And
Ah.
he just seemed like in the first film, you just put all your faith in him at all times. Like he's making the right call here. Thor, he's a bit of a hothead. Loki can't be trusted either. He's doing the right. In this one, it's just like at every stage of every line you have, you're not saying the right thing. You're not king anymore.
Yeah, he's like an old fool
Yeah.
almost.
And like not a lot's happened in 2 years. Like he looks a bit podgier. We'll say
He
that.
does. His armor was like bulky though.
Yeah.
They
Well-
changed the armor designs in this one,
Yeah.
and I'm not. Thor's costume's pretty much the same, and Loki's wearing the one he wore in the
Avengers.
Avengers. But the rest of them have all been changed. I think most of them for the better. Not Odin's though.
No, it just made him look weird, and it was just I don't know, seeing him like fighting like hand to hand seemed a bit. He just didn't seem to have it either. I don't know if are we missing Kenneth Branagh on all levels here.
Well, you know, this one thing this film as a whole, I mean, we talked a lot about the cast, but the film as a whole, I think this film does action very well. It's much bigger scale. It's more exciting than the first film, because let's face it, what
There was a
did we
lot
get?
at stake as well. Whereas
Yeah.
in the first film, it's like, oh, this sleepy town in New Mexico might get blown up.
Yeah, because if Thor dies, well, then everyone else will fuck off back to where they come from, and that'll
Yeah.
be the end of it. Whereas here, it's the unit, it's all worlds. So I think this is a better comic book movie, but Alan Taylor does not bring the gravitas that Kenneth Branagh brought, and that really sold me on the original
Yeah.
Thor. And it is disappointing. I think Anthony Hopkins doesn't do as well here at all. I don't think other people suffer so much.
Well, no, because it's the humour's still there and the action's still there, so that's pretty much what you need for most of the characters.
Yes.
But Anthony Hopkins, it was all about the drama. He didn't really do much apart from rocking up on his horse, but that's your good
Yeah.
CG department.
But it
isn't
was like the thing is, though, even that you kind of felt his power through his gravitas.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's just like he's got that spear that fires out like the sun or
Yeah.
something that just burns people. He kind of like in the first one, he looked really big and powerful, blasting people. He just kind of lazing around up there. He's hosing the lawn down.
Yeah, he does. Like an old film.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know, but yeah, Anthony Hopkins.
Like in this film, you would based on how good Rene Russo's fight scene was, I would expect her to beat Anthony Hopkins in a fight in this film.
Yeah, she's
in the
badass.
first film, she wouldn't have even pulled that sword out.
Yeah, she's it's a complete down, like a step down from it. I didn't really dig him at all, and I don't know whether that's him phoning it in because he couldn't be asked, or whether it's Alan Taylor's fault. Maybe a little bit of both.
Probably.
Yeah, it's disappointing because I did really, really like him in the first one, and he did help make it he did help me enjoy the first one a lot more. Not that I didn't enjoy this. I thought it was a lot of fun.
But this is definitely a comic book movie.
Oh yeah, it's very much more closer to the Avengers.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
But then you don't have Joss Whedon's sort of nice kitschy sort of
Yeah.
style either, because Joss Whedon can pull out the drama when he needs to.
Yes, he can.
And like just
He can.
Kenneth Branagh seems. I've watched the commentary on the original Thor. It's just with Kenneth Branagh. I don't think there's anyone else. And
I should listen to that, actually.
it's really interesting. Like, he poured his like heart into the first film.
I get the impression it was like a real labour of love. I think he kind of maybe got talked into doing it, and then he thought, but as he got on, I think he really thought, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to make it good.
Yeah, and he did an amazing job. I think it's my favourite Phase 1 film.
Oh, it
In fact,
is.
it's not even, I'm not even thinking it is my favourite Phase 1 film.
I think it is, yeah.
And I credit Kenneth Branagh for that. And I mean, I've watched the trailer for the new Jack Ryan film, which I was really looking forward to, but the trailer hasn't really inspired me yet. But I'm trusting the source material in Kenneth Branagh.
The Thor trailers never really did much
The first
for me.
Thor trailers.
Yeah. To be honest, the Thor trailers for this didn't really get me excited. I was worried because I'd heard about the troubled production.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think of all them things in considering, I think this film turns out pretty good.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it around the same level as Iron Man 3.
Well, I was talking to my friend the other day who's a big Marvel nerd.
Yeah.
He really likes Marvel. He's a big comic, and he always goes and see the films straight away. And then he put it really well. He said that the first Thor was for him. I am kind of agree from kind of like a 4-star type of film, like a kind of like a B+A film, straight across the board. Whereas this kind of zigzags up and down, up and below that line.
Categories, yeah.
So I think that put it really well. This one's not as consistent, but when it's good, the action's really fun. It's a big comic book movie,
and when it's funny, I think it's funnier.
Yeah, it is funny. I mean, there's
the last, when he's on the train.
The train. How do I get to Greenwich?
When they're having that fight scene, you've got Thor, who's a god, and he's fighting Malekith, who's been superpowered by this point. And they could have easily gone down the Man of Steel, let's just destroy London route.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They did.
It made sense in the context.
Yeah. And they made the odd bit funny. His hammer's always trying to get back to him, and when they're accidentally like sidestepping into different worlds, his hammer's flying off, through space.
I thought that the final fight was really inventive.
It reminded me of Monsters Inc. The first.
Yeah, because of these like invisible interdimensional portals all over the place, and they're falling through them. And the scenery's just changing, and then they're falling back into Earth, and then back onto the dark world. And as you say, it's those hammers constantly switching direction of how it's trying to get back to him.
Because it doesn't know the walls are there, so it's like, oh, I'm on Earth now. Let's go to and he just flies off into space, and then he's back. Oh, it's really funny.
And that's very inventive. And there's also a little wink to the original where they go back to Jotunheim, the ice planet.
Well, I didn't get that. I didn't realise that's what they're doing until David said afterwards. Well.
Yeah, it's the giant ice beast they fight. Apparently, there's a bit at the end that features that.
Of the end of what?
You know how Marvel always put credit stingers to set up another film? Well, there's one here that links to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But there's one after the normal,
which I didn't stay for,
which kind of rounds things off with Thor and Jane. But there's also a flashback. You know where where Jane finds the portals originally, that big industrial estate.
Yeah.
Apparently, you see the giant monster chasing crows around the car park.
Oh, really?
Because nothing ever happens to it. So yeah, apparently that's there.
That's cool.
I didn't see it either, but my friend who went to see it did stop.
My favourite nod to the first film, and I was the only person in the cinema that laughed at this bit, and I laughed really loud to the point where some people turned around and look at me. There's that bit where people are like falling through parallel worlds, and they all end up. Kat Dennings, who I thought was really good in this, because she had a lot of screen time on her own.
She was in a lot more. I think they realised that she's popular.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Kat Dennings, but goddamn, she needs to get out of Two Broke Girls.
Yeah, no, I was just when she's got good writing material, she's so good.
She's got a real dry sense of humour. I do like her.
And it was just in this where she ends up kissing the other guy, and she drops in on Jane and Eric, and they're all saying each other's names. I'm like, Darcy, Jane, Ian, Selphic, and then Paul's hammer flies past, and she's just going, remember?
Yeah, I got that as well.
I think it's the funniest film moment of 2013. I go forward because I like it when she says "Mir Mir" anyway. In the first one, I thought it was really funny, and in this one, it was a reference. It wasn't expected.
Yeah, it was good. I did like that.
It built on all the other bits. Oh,
yeah.
Not to spoil the best joke for you all, but
yeah, fuck it. It is funny though. It is. I did like that. But I mean, you just mentioned Eric Selvig, who's had a progressively shittier time as things going on.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I don't really know what they were going for with him in this.
No.
Because at the end of the Avengers, he was kind of normal again. But in this, it's like, oh no, he's been really fucked up by them events and he's crazy now. I
think it was a way to write him out so they didn't know what was happening until they needed him at the end, is all I can think of.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, just why have him in?
But they could have, arrested him rather than having him go crazy and in a mental home.
Well, no, because you wouldn't have had Stan Lee have his cameo there.
Yeah.
But the bit where you first see him and he's running around Stonehenge naked.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I get what he's doing, but why is he naked?
Yeah.
And it just seemed like they were trying. I don't know. I don't really
They
know.
were
what
trying
they
to be
were going
funny, maybe. I don't know.
for. Yeah, it was very forced.
But you've why the fuck would they use ITV News?
I know. I was thinking, no, it's ITV, but yeah, BBC must be too expensive.
Yeah, well, like, that's all I can think of. Maybe Kenneth Branagh, because there isn't. Kenneth Branagh would have got BBC if he was doing this one.
I would have thought so.
He'd have gotten like the Sky Arts or something,
Sky
the Shakespeare
Arts
channel, Sky Arts News.
Is this such a thing? I don't know.
But it's just like, it just made me think, like, as soon as I saw there was ITV News, I thought, well, this is a fabricated story.
Yeah, I know. Thing is, it was like so lazy. It wasn't even like they had the bars at the bottom. It was literally just a little fucking logo in the corner. Like, God, you really got the cheapest package they offered. Going, oh man,
Are you getting sick of films being filmed in London because of the tax breaks? Because every
is that what
film,
it's for? Is it?
it's like how many films have been filmed in London so far, and then there's loads more on the way. Yeah, it's because there's tax breaks for filming here, because it was trying to promote us during like the Olympic year and beyond.
Oh right.
And
Is it like London Down?
well, yeah,
Is that what it's going to be called?
yeah. Did you like that when I put it on your wall? Did you predict this at all?
No.
Did you?
God, yeah, damn it. Yeah, it doesn't need a sequel. Jesus, it didn't need the first one. Yeah, sorry, getting back
Thor
to
2.
Thor 2. For the Dark World. It's not
Yeah.
technically 2.
It's really annoyed me when people say Thor 2, and I've just done it myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. What film? Does that exist? Yeah, Thor 2, I mean, I suppose bringing things to a...
I've enjoyed doing this one.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
It was a really fun movie. I would say that it is less consistent than the first one, but it's bigger and more brash.
Yeah.
It expands the universe, which will lend itself better to other Marvel properties, but at the same time, it never really compromises its own feel and look, which I liked. I definitely want to see more. So I think Chris Hemsworth's great. Yeah. Tom Hiddleston's great. I could do with Jane Foster maybe getting rid out sooner rather than later.
Maybe just shift up the relationship at first.
Yeah.
And see what happens. I want to see him and Sif, yeah.
I just want more Sif.
Yeah, I'd love to see more
Sif.
Sif.
Point. Idris Elba's... I love Idris Elba.
He should have done more in this as well.
Yeah, he's kind of... Cause
I loved his conversation with Thor in the bar, you see. And he took his helmet off.
I love him and Dan as a character because he seems like he's somebody who's probably like he's really powerful in like he's very respected as well.
Yeah.
And I'd love for him to go with Thor on adventures, but he can't really because of his position and his job. But yeah, I think on the whole, this was less consistent than the first one. It went up and down. The highs are probably higher, but the lows are lower.
Yeah.
Saying that, I think for me, this is probably going to be a B+.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. I don't think it's as good as an A because of its missteps, but I did enjoy it, and I would go and see it again.
I'd go and see it again, and I would probably... Because I went in more like kind of expecting the same tone of the first one, whereas if I went in this one, I would just expect the juicy, brash sequel. And if you just go into... If you want to just, enjoy your film, this is really fun. So
it's a pretty damn good comic book movie.
Yeah.
That pays tribute to its two of the ones that have come before and moves forward in a logical way.
And I've got to say, out of all of the Marvel heroes so far, all of the Avengers, he's the one that I want to see continue his storyline all the way through.
I think we've had Iron Man done now.
Yeah,
at least
I don't
for
need
now.
to see another Iron Man yet.
No.
But I need to see a Thor 3. I like Captain America.
Captain America's new trailer.
That is amazing new trailer. I was so sad it wasn't preceding this.
My friend got fucking not only a Captain America Winter Soldier, which is a bad trailer, he got Days of Future Past.
Did he?
Before this.
Vast.
I know. I can't even remember what I got. It was so mundane.
Mine were crap.
Yeah, mine was shitty. Well, the one, I don't know. I can't even remember them. So I think it's definitely a trailer reel I've seen before. So I've just completely forgotten about them. But yeah, he got badass trailers. I'd love to see Days of Future Past on the big screen. Like just the trailer for now. Fuck it. So yeah, I think B+ for this.
We'll give this a B+.
But before we go though,
Yeah.
I want to talk about the post-credit
Stinger. Yeah.
Now, it was the weirdest one we've had so far.
It was incredibly weird. You know who the dude reminded me of? You've seen Zoolander with Will Ferrell's character.
Yes.
That's all I can imagine.
I know, he was. He looked exactly like that. So, yeah, the post-credit stinger linked in with Guardians of the Galaxy, which is going to be the Marvel movie this time next year.
Yeah.
Because Winter Soldier is going to be the summer one. Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the winter one. And it's ironic that because Captain America is going to be Winter Soldier, so you think maybe you switch them around.
I would have.
But
just because I want to see Guardians first.
I know, I really want to see Guardians, but it was always going to be weird but this looks like Farscape
It
level
really
weird.
does. It looks like a Farscape wet dream
I
level
know.
weird.
And basically, the post-credits.
It was
stinger
so
is,
like just it was a when this is a weird environment they're in,
yeah,
and then just Sif turns up, and I'm just like, this looks weird now because you got Xena in an episode of like
Farscape. But yeah, I mean, the post-credits thing is basically Sif and Volstagg, who's Jamie Alexander and Ray Stevenson. Two are probably better.
Yeah, the
as
best
Guardians.
two.
They basically go and meet with this character called the Collector, played by fucking Benicio del Toro, doing his best Will Ferrell Zoolander impression. And it's in this really odd room where there's loads of like aliens and cages and stuff. And he's the collector, and I get the impression he just collects shit.
Yeah.
But they hand over this kind of artifact to him and say that he needs to keep it safe because they can't have too many ridiculous super weapons on Asgard. It's just a recipe for disaster. And he's like, oh yes, of course. And then they leave. He's like, oh, we've got one of the Infinity Jewels.
Yeah.
And we need four.
Yeah,
four to go. And that's, I think it's been confirmed now that Thanos,
well, the Guardians of the Galaxy formed to fight Thanos, don't they, originally?
I don't know, probably.
So I think, it's been confirmed that he's the villain in it.
Well, no, it's been confirmed that he's not going to be the villain. Somebody else is. He's going to be like the Avengers, the mastermind
the one behind it, yeah.
all. So maybe they're going to set him up another name because if he's only got Thanos is big. He's the guy who was the mastermind behind the Chitauri in the Avengers. He's the guy you saw at the post-credits stinger very briefly. So it would suggest at this point he hasn't got the Infinity Gauntlet, which is this kind of source of ultimate power. So maybe they're going to spend the next couple of films getting them all the Infinity Jewels to put in it. And that's different from the comic books because they're just separate entities, not these kind of relics we've already seen getting condensed into jewels and fitted. I like what they've done though. It condenses it in a
cool,
and it also kind of it gives them some kind of context because you've seen how horrible these kind of artifacts are alone. If you can condense them all into one super weapon, it's going to fuck shit up basically. So I liked it. It got me excited. It got me really excited. It was ridiculous.
No raccoon though. I was just hoping.
Raccoon.
Just in the background, it would have been nice to see a raccoon in a cage as well. Maybe not have a line, just
like a wink and a nod.
Yeah. Maybe not even Rocket Raccoon, just a raccoon there.
One of his species.
Yeah.
It got me excited though because it looks fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's James Gunn, so
I love James
it's going to
Gunn.
be dark. I think it could be dark, or at least just
it's going to be
obscure.
it's going to be very obscure. Have you seen Slither?
Yeah,
I love
it's
Slither.
class Slither. So I fucking super. Well, I think we've talked about this a lot
we
of
must
time.
have. Yeah, we talked about Super. God.
But I love James Gunn, so it's going to be interesting. But fucking hell, it looks crazy. It looks like a kind of cheap sci-fi TV
it does,
show.
But it looks amazing.
But it's got like a real charm to it
Yeah.
at the same time. So I'm very excited about that.
Your world will be extinguished.
We're running out of time.
The very fabric of reality will be torn apart.
I'll find a way to save us all.
All yours.
Anyone else?